If butterscotch is all about brown sugar, butter, and vanilla, then salt is like the, I don't know, the fourth beetle or whatever. The Ringo. Hi everyone, I'm Claire Saffitz. Welcome to my home kitchen. Today I have a simple recipe for you that celebrates one of my favorite flavors in baking, and that's butterscotch. Butterscotch is a combination of brown sugar, butter, and vanilla, and together those three ingredients just like intermingle to create the most delicious caramelly flavor. So I am making a classic butterscotch blondie today. It's super simple and involves cooking a little bit of a butterscotch candy, folding that into the batter. It's just really, really good. This recipe is incredibly simple, and it is sort of an adaptation of several blondie recipes that I've made in the past. So I have a blondie recipe in both Dessert Person and What's for Dessert. Like a lot of recipes, brownies is one, pie dough is one. I'm always tweaking and making like little adjustments and trying variations. So it's very similar to recipes that I have in both books, but it's a little bit different. And this is really all about that butterscotch flavor. There's no nuts added, there's no chocolate chips. It's just about brown sugar, butter, and vanilla. For the butterscotch pieces that get cut up and folded into the batter, I have dark brown sugar. I'm using vanilla paste. You could use vanilla bean. Unsalted butter, a little bit of water, and kosher salt. This is like so simple, so few ingredients. Then for the batter, I have more unsalted butter, light brown sugar, 2 large eggs, 1.25 cups all-purpose flour, a little bit of baking soda, more kosher salt, and I'm incorporating vanilla extract into the batter. Special equipment, you will need an 8x8 inch pan. This pan I just sprayed with a little bit of like nonstick oil cooking spray, and I put a piece of parchment into the bottom. Often I just lay a single piece of parchment down the middle and have it like overhang 2 sides. For this one, I actually just cut a square of parchment and then cut out like the notches so that I have it lined all over. It doesn't really matter. You'll need any size rim baking sheet with either a silicone baking mat like this or a piece of parchment for pouring out your butterscotch mixture. I'm gonna use a saucepan twice. First to cook the butterscotch, and second to brown the butter for the batter. So butterscotch is a combination of butter, brown sugar, and vanilla. But when you brown the butter, it creates like even more depth of flavor, even more kind of caramelly notes, makes it that much better. Before I get into the recipe, I want to thank Hey Lala Vanilla, our sponsors for today's episode. Hey Lala is my vanilla of choice. I use the full range of products from their vanilla paste to their extract to their whole beans. So Hey Lala is based in New Zealand. It's a woman-owned company. Everything is produced and grown in the Kingdom of Tonga, where Hey Lala invests in the community. I love their vanilla paste, which basically has free-floating vanilla seeds. It has incredible concentration of flavor. The vanilla beans are so juicy and soft, plus their vanilla extract is again so concentrated. So I love using the full range of products. If you want to try Hey Lala, go to heylalavanilla.com. You can get 20% off any full-priced item. So check out the code below in the description. And I'm going to use this in several places in our butterscotch blondies because vanilla is such an essential flavor in that recipe. So now I'm going to show you how to make it. Butterscotch is the flavor of chocolate chip cookies. Like what I like about chocolate chip cookies doesn't even really have that much to do with the chocolate. It is about all of those flavors together in this like delicious chewy form. So what I'm going for with these blondies is like chocolate chip cookie without the chocolate in blondie form, like with actual butterscotch like ribboned through. So I'm using dark brown sugar. Dark brown sugar is just simply refined sugar with molasses mixed in. So that molasses flavor is really essential to butterscotch. So I'm gonna cook a kind of quick butterscotch candy. I'm gonna get it out on this lined sheet tray to cool. I'm gonna chop it up and it's gonna go into our blondies. So you're gonna get like little gooey pockets of butterscotch. So dark brown sugar goes in. I have just a little bit of water, which I like to use when I'm cooking butterscotch or toffee because it helps to get everything dissolved. A little bit of kosher salt. So I'm using vanilla paste, which is sort of a suspension of lots of little tiny vanilla seeds. I love this product. I use it a lot It's so wonderful. So I'm adding 2 teaspoons of vanilla paste. I think for 2 teaspoons, if you are using whole beans, I would use 1 whole bean and scrape it in here. Then my butter, this is 7 tablespoons of unsalted butter. So I'm gonna bring this over to the stove, cook everything together. I have my heat-proof flexible spatula. And then I'm gonna use my instant read thermometer to cook this mixture to 260. So that's gonna give me a texture where I can slice it and incorporate it into the batter, but it won't be like crunchy hard candy. Here is my butterscotch candy mixture that I just turned out onto my lined baking sheet. It is setting, so it's gonna sort of set into this firm but chewy candy. I'm actually going to stick it in the freezer so I can get it firm enough to cut it into little pieces. Is that gonna close? Yes. I have 12 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I'm gonna get this in the same saucepan that I used to cook the butterscotch. I'm gonna clean it out first and I'm gonna brown that. So all that brown butter is gonna add a ton of flavor to the final blondies. Here's my brown butter. So this is very hot. I don't wanna mix the batter yet with such hot butter. So I'm gonna actually add 2 ice cubes. When you cook brown butter, you're boiling off all the water. And I actually want to introduce that water back into the recipe because I want that water to interact with the flour to develop a little bit of chewiness. And it's also gonna cool it down. So I'm gonna grab 2 ice cubes. So they are slowly melting. I just want this mixture to be not hot anymore. It's okay if it's a little warm. And also my eggs are cold right from the fridge. So that's gonna help cool everything down as well. So I'm gonna set this aside. I'm gonna mix together my dry ingredients. So I have my all-purpose flour, some kosher salt, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. I'm just gonna whisk all this together. So I'm just stirring this until the ice cubes are totally melted, and you can see that the butter is thickening because it's cooling down. And you saw me scrape the butter into a bowl out of the saucepan when it was done. You generally don't wanna leave brown butter in the saucepan because it will probably continue to carry over and it could very easily burn. So I like to, when I start to see the butter brown, I like to dial back the temperature to decrease it a little bit, then really carefully watch it and get it just to the point where it's like as brown as I want it before it goes bitter because it's burned, and then I get it out of the saucepan. And that will also help to cool it down a lot faster. So now that I have a mixture that is no longer hot, I would say it's a little bit warmer than room temp. So now I'm going to add my light brown sugar. And I want to whisk this together. I've had this light brown sugar for a while. It's like a little bit on the lumpy side, but whenever I'm making a blondie or a chocolate chip cookie, I don't actually mind having like little lumps of brown sugar. It's like, that's just gonna add a little bit of texture. So I want to whisk this together until it's really well combined. I almost always make blondies and chocolate chip cookies with melted butter, not with room temperature butter. The point of room temperature butter is you can cream it with sugar to like work lots of air into it to make it light and fluffy. But I'm basically never going for a fluffy blondie. So now I'm gonna add my eggs one at a time. This will help to emulsify everything. So it's gonna turn this really satiny texture. So you have this, so there's no separation. So you can look at how nice that looks. Second egg goes in. Now, before I add the dry ingredients, a crucial ingredient, my vanilla extract. This is so important because without this, I'm just not gonna develop the butterscotchy flavors that I want in this recipe. And I use a full tablespoon of extract in this blondie recipe. It smells really good. I'm gonna add my dry ingredients. As usual, I'm working in a too small bowl, but shouldn't have a problem. When I don't have room in a bowl, this is how I whisk.
Did you ever use that kind with the little bicycle wheel?
I haven't used like an old-fashioned egg beater since I was in preschool, I think, and we had one on our sensory table to like play with. But they work. I think they really work.
They're cool.
So now that the flour is incorporated, I can really get in there with the whisk. here is this incredibly beautiful blondie batter. So I'm gonna set this aside. I want the batter to firm up a little bit, which it will do if it has a chance to rest. And now I'm gonna grab my butterscotch candy, take it out of the freezer, and I'm gonna cut it up. And that's gonna go into the batter and a little bit on top as well. So here's my butterscotch candy. It's quite firm. I wonder if I'm better off breaking it than cutting it. So at this point, I can actually just break it into pieces. This is even easier than cutting it. Eating one, it instantly kind of warms up and becomes chewable, but it's just so much easier to get it into pieces that separate when it's cold. I'm gonna separate this 2/3 and 1/3. 2/3 I'll fold into the batter. 1/3 kind of go on top. I'm also gonna grab some flaky sea salt. Great addition on top. It does cut down on some of the sweetness in the recipe. So actually this has thickened up nicely, just in that 5 minutes or so that it was resting. I'm gonna add in my butterscotch pieces. I have my prepared pan here. My oven is on 350. It's been preheating this whole time. And I have a rack in the center position. So batter goes into the pan. One of my tricks for making really superlative chocolate chip cookies is resting the batter. It tends to really enhance the chewiness as well as just the overall flavor. But I've never tried it for blondies, which is not very different from just like plain chocolate chip cookie dough. I'm gonna try that next time. I wanna spread this into an even layer. I'm gonna take my reserved pieces and stud them onto the surface. They're already softening a little bit, but very easy to handle still. And I like that it forms these like shards. Final touch, my flaky sea salt on top. So my oven's on 350. I'm gonna bake these. They're gonna bake for, I would say about 25 minutes. The blondies actually took a very long time to bake. I think I didn't account for the like gooey factor of the butterscotch that I added, but they were probably in there for closer to 40 minutes. I'm gonna look for the surface to be super golden brown, a little bit wrinkly in the corners, puffed, and just firm to the touch in the center. Looks really good. I'm super excited. The center feels like a little medium rare when you pull them out, but there's that baking soda in there, which is gonna react with the brown sugar, which is acidic, and it's gonna cause some puffing. And then as it cools, it's gonna really settle down, which is already started to do. So it's nice and firm in the center. Looks really good. I'm gonna take it out of the pan and just let them cool on this rack. See this little gooey patch right there where the butterscotch was? Very excited to eat these. Are these fully cooled? No. Are they cool enough to slice? I hope. I'm gonna get these onto my cutting board. It's always a good idea to slice blondies or brownies with a serrated knife. I'm gonna loosen it from the bottom of the parchment paper. Parchment is a better bet for this recipe than foil, which you'll often see with brownies, because some of that butterscotch can actually want to stick to the foil a little bit, but the parchment, it comes right off. For an 8x8 like this, I usually slice into 16, 4x4. There's a lot of butter in here, so they're slicing really nicely. The surface is so crackly, like a good brownie. Wow. Okay, they definitely need to cool longer, but you can see how gooey, ribboned with all that butterscotch. It looks so good. Can't wait to eat it. Got my milk. This is insanely good. It really is like that best bite of a chocolate chip cookie, but it's actually even better because it has more of the textures I want all in one bite. Crispy edge and surface, gooey center, chewy little areas from the butterscotch. It's also really not overly sweet. I think that that's an important thing to call out here. Yeah, we added a lot of sugar, but everything has been cooked so that it's developed like lots of other flavors. Plus all of that halala vanilla is really bringing this into well-balanced territory. I mean, I'm happy to have the glass of milk, but this is not a sugar bomb. If you think of blondies really as like a bar version of chocolate chip cookies without the chocolate chips, then you start to understand that it's really all about that combination of vanilla, butter, brown sugar. It's not like a paler version of a brownie. I love this recipe. I love having those ribbons of butterscotch throughout, and I cannot imagine making it without halala vanilla. It is my vanilla brand of choice. I want to thank halala for sponsoring this episode. You can get 20% off any full priced item. Go to the link below. It's halalavanilla.com. Check out all their products, from the paste to the whole beans to the extract to the vanilla sugar. So good. Thank you for watching. I hope you give this a try. It's so good, so easy. And what was the other one I was saying?
Like and subscribe. Crazy good.
Well, it was like 3 things. It's like good,
You
easy.
don't want to give any to your neighbors.
No, I don't know what I mean. I hope you give these a try. They're insanely good, really easy, really fun. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And cut.